Hello. Hello. What's up? Hmm. Do that like that. Hello, my friend. How are you?
Good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Our delightful host Ozzy will be back with us here shortly. Welcome, welcome, Oculicious. I love that name. That
Thank
is a really
you.
cool name.
Thank you.
Welcome to the
How you
theory
doing?
of everything.
Thank you very
Talk
much.
about pretty much any and everything. Today's topic will be about uh, self exploration. So, our delightful host Ozzy will take us through a few examples as well as give us some hello, everyone, as well as give us the opportunity to participate in some psychological tests.
Ooh.
I believe she's having a little bit of technical difficulties. Give me a second.
Okay.
Uh,
Hello, Halian.
uh, Hello, Mendez.
I am passing around the megaphone until she gets here. Speak to the devil.
Привет. Снежная королева и черный ворона скажут нет
Speak funny these.
Whoa, what language is that? I didn't know that. Hello.
по-русски.
Can you amplify yourself, please, Ozzy?
Arabic.
По-русски красивый.
Я.
Chitty. Ah.
Ты тоже очень красивая, Тереза.
Я американская женщина. Я говорю по-русски хорошо. Нет,
Прекрасно.
понимаешь хорошо.
You're speaking
Где ты
Russian.
учила?
Speaking
Где
Russian?
ты
Yeah,
учила
that's what I
русский?
think.
Yeah, до свидания.
Sounds alien to me. I don't know what
No,
that
it's
is.
just Russian.
По-русски
Just Russian,
женщина
okay.
Ольга.
Yeah.
Долго?
Ольга.
Oh,
Ольга?
Sounds like somebody's
we
in their
also
kitchen.
lost what they're talking about. Do you
No, it
understand
sounds
them?
like somebody's in their kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on a minute. Oh, there it is. What about?
Yeah, your screen disconnected too. There you go.
Yeah, because my computer just like froze, and I'm like, what? So I had to
Yeah.
reboot it quickly. So nice. Many people speak Russian here, surprisingly. Soviet Russia loses its power, so I didn't think that somebody still is learning English. I mean, Russian, so many languages.
I learned from immigrants.
There are a lot of them. I've been thinking about becoming one of them, but
And
just
in
soon.
the
Hey,
US? I don't know.
I don't know if that's a
somewhere.
good idea, right? Yeah, go somewhere else. Go to Canada.
It's getting worse and worse. Just today, I heard the news that my visa just expired in November, and I had 1 year to without interview. I could just get the visa again, like renew it, whatever. But the embassy is now closed, and the Russian American political situation is getting worse and worse. This world is crazy. I think it's not ready for the good future. Just enjoying life, being kind to each other.
Here?
I don't know. I hope it is, but
Just cross your fingers.
yeah, crossing fingers, trying to do my best. Okay, so hello everybody. If it's your first time, it's our weekly event on Friday. Hey, my hands are not moving unfortunately because I'm using a PC, and hopefully you're going to enjoy it. Every week we have different topics, different events, and I kind of try to create this atmosphere where people discuss stuff, and whenever one person tells some personal story, not a story, but like their opinions, their views on life, I think it helps other people to have additional perspectives to their own lives. And I think self-exploration is very fun, interesting, and important in our life. And whenever people say it's too late to change something, I say, well, as long as you breathe, for 1 day even, I think that's the main goal. That's what's the most important in your life, to find path to your own spiritual, soul, or any different people use different words, so that way I didn't want to limit it to one notion, but still finding your true self, or finding your way in life. If you want to call it a karmic way or maybe spiritual journey, I think that's the most important stuff. I'm very down-to-earth person, but now I think I'm discovering my spiritual life. I remember many years ago when my friend said, well, I'm a little bit worried that I don't do too much for my soul. I'm like, what? What is this combination of words? I was so surprised that she was preoccupied with these issues, that it's something important, and now I understand why she was saying that, because it really is, and it's an interesting journey. So, but I'm newbie to this, and that's why I would like to hear some other people, if you have some stuff to share, that you found some things, step into the conversation with the discussion. But I'm going to give you some few questions and maybe a little test for fun, like as to find an additional perspective to you, some information that you get. Some people believe in zodiac, some people believe in karma, some people believe in numerology, and some people believe in science, some people believe in religion. I see everything as just a source of information, because the more information you have, the easier it is to create some theory, to create some way and see life from different perspectives. So I see life like that. I just gather information, experiences, different I think different experiences. That's a very good English word that has a lot of meanings, like very bright, lively experiences, or maybe just information, knowledge, and then like trying to get something out of it for myself, and to understand better who I am and where I'm going. Okay, so if you have some advice and you have something interesting to share, that would be great if you could do that. Okay, and today I'm gonna give you I'm gonna ask you some questions first. So just to hold on a second. Okay. So I'm gonna ask you this question, so that way we can start the conversation, and then I can go deeper. And I'm gonna ask you about your fears and dreams today, later on, so we can find some interesting different stories. But it's gonna be a little bit later. So first, let's start with this practice. So did you have some periods of enhanced stress, for example? We all have stresses, and especially this year with this pandemic and like lockdowns and everything. If you have this stressful, anxious state, what do you do to kind of find your balance again? So maybe, do you have some techniques that help you to get out of this, trapped state of mind, or maybe kind of depression and stuff like that? So let's talk about that to start the conversation.
I used to be really bad with stress.
Mm-hmm. How did you deal with it?
Kick animals.
Oh wow. do you
Yeah,
have
I don't-
kicking animals
only-
at home? Or plush ones?
Well, it
You
was
have
my
a-
own cat, but I don't do it anymore. But now it's just I just bang my fit. Like I've got a. I used to smoke, and it would usually be. I think it all stemmed from. I mean, I don't get stressed in real world. You know, that's what's weird about it as well. I don't get stressed in the real world over real problems. Traffic, don't bother. It's usually gaming. When I was a kid, I used to game a lot. FIFA, I would get really, and that's where I'd kick the animals. FIFA, does anyone play FIFA here? I think the game's
Yeah.
fixed.
Yeah, football.
And when you're losing, I would just I'd spend money on control, smash the controllers up, kick the animals that are walking across, and now,
Oh my god, poor cat.
yeah, no, I do regret it. I had to go counselling, but
A
now
cat
I
or
just
you?
don't buy FIFA. But now I just don't buy FIFA, so
Yeah, I think it's
That's how I deal with
game rage. It's sometimes it's not always directly connected to your personality. I always
Anything
joke that
else?
I have this. Yeah, I have this Tourette's syndrome. Whenever I play, I kind of spit out some cursing words. I'm like, what the?
I think I'm the same, yeah, because like I said at the start of that, I don't get angry with anything else. If an old guy pulls out on me in traffic, I should be shouting out the window, "You're too old, you shouldn't be driving." But I don't. I just relax on that, and it's just FIFA. So
It doesn't hurt anybody, yeah, except for your cat.
yeah, well,
Okay.
I know Kenny died, but
Oh my goodness, yeah. Hopefully
not
it's a
because of me
resting
kicking
in
it.
peace.
No, not not because of me kicking it. Atarax.
Okay. So, do you think that playing video games or like FIFA in particular, does it help you deal with your stress? Do you think it's connected to
That
your
is-
behavior?
See, that's a good question because it's both, isn't it? It de-stresses me. It de-stresses me when I've got crap going on. I play it and I forget about it when I'm winning, and then when I'm losing because somebody cheats, that's when I get angry again to smash things up.
So it's it has two different sides.
Yeah, like a drug, I guess, isn't it? I don't do drugs, but it's like a drug. It's
Well, yeah, definitely. It's addicting, I think. For example, I don't play too much right now, but I used to play a lot when I was younger. My husband is like a big fan of different games. He enjoys it a lot. But yeah, I just realized that it gives me a lot of negative emotions, whereas I don't get many positive ones. So I decided to quit that particular type of video game that was given it this rage. So broken screens, yes, happened to me too. Okay, so a good start. What about anybody else? Did you have some techniques?
Paul had his hand up. I don't think he knows the question.
How do you deal with
hello.
stress or negative
Right.
states?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I didn't quite get your introduction. First of all, stress isn't necessarily a bad thing. We do need
most
stress,
definitely.
but obviously, long-term chronic stress can well be. Neither is trauma necessarily a bad thing because it can lead to post-traumatic growth. But having said that, it's best to advance one's self-development by avoiding trauma. Dealing with stress, I find meditation increasingly useful. I use the Sam Harris's Waking Up app, and I find myself when I chop up onions, I'm no longer cutting my fingers. I do it more methodically, so it's had one advantage. And sorry I was late because I was kicking the cat. Because I was kicking the cat because I was so stressed out. I don't actually have a cat. But yeah,
Anymore.
meditation.
You would if it ran in your kitchen, you'd kick it.
Meditation, cognitive therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy is a good approach, and learning to be assertive. Telling people to please remove yourself from my vicinity, but perhaps more directly than that when absolutely necessary.
Nice. Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
sorry, I
Thank you.
missed your
Yeah.
introduction.
Oh, don't worry about that. No, it wasn't too informative. Okay. Then anybody else?
If you guys would like to raise your hand, I'll pass you the megaphone as well.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us
No one.
exactly what the topic is?
Self-exploration, like I think that it's very vague because the different parts are like you can deal with different things differently, and like as somebody mentioned, like you can be one person in one situation and another person in another situation, but I see it as something one because we have like different levels of conscious and subconsciousness, like, and that's why like different levels can interact with different situations, but at the same time it's the same stuff. So how do we find what our real personal like self is, what's in our subconscious levels, and so that way we can pull it out, kind of deal with the different situations and grow after that. But it's rather vague.
Okay.
So it's like a little warm up as well. So that's why the question was about stress, because I think it's the most frequent one. So yeah, maybe if I narrow down the question, so how do you deal with stressful situations? I mean, like for example, in anxiety, if you have some anxiety when you think about different situations in life.
I have to take anxiety medication or I'll have an anxiety attack. Sometimes another thing that happens to me often is I get motion sickness whenever I get in a car, and I have to take medication before I get in the car, like at least 30 minutes before, or I'll get motion sickness. And I don't know about you, but if I had to explain it, like being like motion sickness makes you feel so bad that you would rather die than keep feeling that way.
Wow.
And like I talked to a doctor about that, and they explained to me that motion sickness is actually caused by anxiety.
I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Yeah, and it's not anything a person has control over. It just happens. It also has something to do with your ears, like fluid, like flow into your ears whenever, like you're in a moving vehicle or in a boat or an airplane. No.
Yeah, I've heard of
It's
that.
connected to VR too. Do you have a motion sickness in VR?
Yeah. Thankfully, I'm actually on a computer right now. See how my hands are? I can't move my hands.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Thankfully, you can get on a computer to get on Altspace.
Again, if you would like the megaphone, you can raise your hand and I'll pass it to you.
Oh.
I might like to share what I do when I'm stressed. Maybe up until a year ago, I would just do drugs, marijuana,
That's not too bad.
Xanax, what's the other one? Oxycontin, whenever I could, to deal with my stress and anxiety. I was growing up, I was a pretty angry kid until I found pot. So I dealt with a lot of the stress and anxiety of the world through using marijuana. So like the past, maybe not this year right here, but last year I smoked maybe 2 pounds of weed. I know I bought at least 4 pounds of weed and I at least smoked 2 of them. And that was the same thing the prior year before that. So drugs is something that I use to help me with stress
Wow, that's
that
a
I'll
lot.
pass.
Yeah, I think physical exercises help as well, because if all the anger and some kind of different feelings that we have, they are trapped in our body, and I think we were designed to move more than we do right now, and I think that going to some Gym sometimes help. If the stress is moderate, I think just a regular exercise is fine. My personal stuff is I also ride a bicycle. It's like a movement meditation for me. It's like my mind is just empty and I just listen to music and I like the speed of movement because that matches my speed of thinking more than walking. When I walk, I'm a little bit, nervous because it's too slow. I want to go faster, and if I go fast, I just I get too hot and it's like inconvenient just to walk so quickly. So yeah, just physical exercises, bicycle rides, and things like that, I think.
I second that opinion.
Oh, once again?
I agree.
Seconds that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Healthy
because
people.
I'm also very anxious and I started exercising, and when you exercise, it just forces you to change your state of mind, or you will not exercise. And even if I don't enjoy the process, I really do enjoy the result.
Yeah, sometimes if I have very strong stress, I just kick something. What was it, like the boxing or something? Just let out the anger that just manifest it, not letting it stay in. You get tired, really, so that's why after that it's hard to be stressed.
Yeah.
And the
But your other
meditations
point-
after work are good.
I actually
Go ahead.
quite like walking, and especially slow walking. So that's where we differ, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's just changing the state of your body helps also to change state of your mind. Sometimes it's getting faster a little bit, changing the pace a little bit, like one way or another, or sometimes really changing the pace very, significantly. For example, every day I try to be very active and do stuff. Sometimes it's really helpful to just stop and do something for 5-6 minutes at least, something like doing nothing or almost like stopping.
I think you're really onto something with the pacing, because my anxiousness is like a certain rhythm, and I have to go way faster or way slower to just retune to whatever, and that really seems to help. So I think you're right.
Yeah, anybody else? What about the ladies? Emily, for
well,
example, maybe?
Tim had his hand up. I think he wanted to
Okay.
2 cents in there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Thanks.
agree with Mendez. I like drugs too. Drugs are great. Doesn't always do the trick long term though. I think that running for me has been fantastic. Yoga, like doing Bikram yoga. Breath work has really been an anchor for me over the past year. So I started doing some of the Wim Hof stuff like March of last year, right around when the pandemic started. And I'll tell you what, I'm a super anxious guy, and I use that like 3 to 5 times a day, doing 3 to 4 rounds of breathing exercises, and it chills me out so well. Like, it puts me to sleep at night. It actually gets me focused during the day, keeps me focused, and like, it's just a good reset tool to have in your pocket,
Cool. Can you share some different practices of meditation, for example? Because meditation is such a popular thing today, and I just realized that there are many different types of meditation. So maybe you have some favorite ones, or like which for example, duration is the average for you?
So the breath work that I do is it's the Wim Hof method. So it's basically 4 rounds of 30 deep breaths, and then you hold your breath at the end of each 30 breaths in. And it has a ton of benefits. It changes the alkalinity of your blood. It's all sorts of crazy stuff. But for me, I don't really understand all the crazy science behind it. I just know it works for me. But I usually will follow that by like a body scan meditation, because I find that is just, and even while I'm doing the breath work, and I'm holding my breath for 2 or 3 minutes, I'm putting my consciousness down to like my toes and working up through my whole body, and I find that it really centers me and stops kind of the train of just constant overthinking.
Paul, what about
Yes.
you? What's your favorite meditation? Oh, you're muted. Mute you.
All right now. Yeah. Yeah. I don't do breath work, but certainly cold showers. You know, if you're on I found a couple of cover occasions being in a bad mood, you know, you do the progressive cold shower, and that can change your mood or you know, within minutes. So yeah, I think it's a lot to the Wim Hof method. Motion sickness, there's a drug, or well, there used to be when I was in the industry, called Scopoderm. Is a patch for motion sickness, scopolamine. But I've been out of touch with that but there is a drug for motion, specifically for motion sickness, and it's right, it's something to do with balance in the ears. And also, let me paint this situation. You know, you got butterflies in your stomach, your muscles are tensing up, your mouth's going a bit dry, and you're a bit afraid. You're on Space Mountain. You're on Space Mountain, and you've just paid $5 to do that. So you know it can be interpretation of the situation. You see what I mean? And you can get exactly the same situation and call it anxiety, and another one you can call it paid for fun. You know what I mean? But it's exactly the same physiological response.
Yes. I think because it's just the state of mind that dances with it, like pairs with it. Because if you have a nice state of mind when you are calm, you have no problems, you kind of feel stable, then giving some shock to your body is a good practice. It's like a new feelings. But if you have this, I always call it like a spring inside me, like somewhere like, it's interesting that different people have different localization. For me, the main area where I feel my emotions is like right under my diaphragm. It's like I see, almost like feel all the emotions over there. Sometimes I kind of feel okay with my mind, but I feel that there's some tension over there, like a spring that was, you know, squeezed. It's almost like, you know, it's about to burst or something into something terrible. So that's why I track sometimes that feeling separately from my mind. I'm like, I kind of feel anxious. What's the reason? So I kind of go through my feelings and events that I had recently, and I try to find those events that could be affecting me somewhere where I'm like it's somewhere on the subconscious level.
So you're saying do a lot of self-evaluation?
Kind of. It's like monitoring yourself. It helps. I think the meditations also kind of teach you that, doing that, because when you scan your body and like you kind of or do yoga, kind of learn to track your movements, your body, your whatever is happening inside rather than outside. So it kind of teaches you to evaluate stuff and at least track it. When you track it, you can get it and then try to analyze it. Well, that's my way because my brain works all the time. Oh, what is this? What's the elements of this? Like, why did it happen? Maybe this way. So I kind of analyze stuff all the time. So that way, these two parts they work together. So just monitoring and experiencing stuff, and at the same time trying to analyze and understand why it happens.
Teresa had her hand up and wanted to drop some change.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't have a problem with cannabis, but just to let you know, like, I live in Florida, and medical cannabis recently became legal. The only problem is if a person has a job and the manager does not think you should be using it while you're working there, you know, they don't want their employees to be using it. If you fail a drug test, the manager can be like, okay, you're fired, and you be like, but I didn't use it, but I didn't get it off the streets. I have a legal medical card and I got it from the dispensary. The manager can be like, I don't care because I think it's still a drug and I don't want people using drugs, you know, I don't want people who work for me using drugs. So yeah, you're fired. Just keep that in mind, you know, like.
Yeah,
like,
that's why I started my own company.
Yeah, I don't think it's right. I'm just, unfortunately, that's how the world works, you know, unfortunately.
Yeah, because I live in Michigan, and it's just like that. It's it's recreational legal here, and people are still facing issues like that. They're scared to use. It could be something that they can use as an alternative to pill popping and drinking, and instead, you know, they pill pop and drink because that gets out of their system in a few days. And marijuana, you know, cannabis stays in your system for weeks at a time. So it's just sad.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think
Tim
the
had his hand up.
paradigm. Sure.
Tim, did you want to say something?
Let me add you guys as a friend.
I think he's zoned out.
Emily, would you like to add something to that? Do you have your own ways to how to deal with stress or anxiety that you have sometimes?
Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm loud.
Yeah. Yes, you are.
Oh, okay. Right now I'm in a rough spot because my daughter's real sick, so I'm not handling myself very well right now. So it's good to hear everybody talking about what helps. In the past, what's helped for me is yoga and Pilates and some things like that. But yeah, right now it's just kind of a day-to-day thing. I'm in Michigan too, by the way, and I work for the local government, and because we get federal funding, we're not allowed to test positive for marijuana either, which sucks.
I'm sorry.
Background check.
Yeah, that would be a nice choice, but luckily we don't get we don't get random drug tests. But if we get into an accident, we're gonna do that. So I do stay away from that. I just want it to pass federally.
Yeah, the world is moving though. I like this dynamic towards this point of view because I watch the news that every state, like there are more and more states that decriminalize cannabis, and they add some recreational cannabis. In many other countries, it's not happening. Like Russia is very old-fashioned in that way. Although everybody uses it, it's just like illegal. That's it. People just trying to hide it and conceal this fact. Although everybody basically uses them, even those people who work in DEA, Russian DEA, they're the most abusers of that. So I think sooner or later the understanding of these things is going to change, and if people are, if they're not abusing it, if they're not using it in a wrong way, so that way they go driving or do something that is that requires a lot of focus and a lot of concentration, I don't think it's going to stay this way. I think sooner or later it's going to be accepted as well as which is strange that cigarettes are accepted and it's fine for people to smoke cigarettes, which is very strange to me, or alcohol, which is the worst.
Right, yep. Remember you showed the chart a few weeks ago. We put the chart up of how many deaths, and was it deaths or what was it? Just
it was a chart. Maybe I can add it. I still have it in my. Maybe I can use this board. It was the research. It's almost classical. Maybe if Paul approves what I'm saying, it was almost a classical research on the danger of different substances, like comprised of the danger for a person who induces the substance and those people who are around. And there were different factors about it: the impairment of thinking, the financial problems, the cause to different, the categories of stuff. And alcohol actually got out of 80 points, alcohol got 70. Out of 80 points, it got 70 something. So as you can see, it's like the biggest one that has the biggest score, negative score.
It has the biggest detrimental effect on society, correct?
Both the society and the people. As you can see on the top right part, like drug-specific mortality, drug-related mortality, drug-specific damage, then dependence, drug-specific impairment of mental functioning, loss of tangibility, relationships, injury, crime, environmental damage, family adversaries, international damage, economical cost, and community. So all those different factors are comprised in the considered in this research. I'm not really sure what was the research. I can't give you the reference right now, but I can give you later. But this one is very popular, actually. You can see it all over the internet. So alcohol comes first. It's the most dangerous substance that people induce. The use, and then heroin and crack, as you can see, different ones. So mushrooms and LSD, different kinds of psychedelics, are at the very end of the chart. So I think this is going to become more and more obvious in coming years, because within my lifetime, like this, 5 or 10 years, recent 10 years, I can see the clear dynamic that it comes out of the taboo world. People now, that's why it's kind of like a lifetime changes that happen. That's why sometimes I talk about these things, and I find these things very fascinating and interesting. Personally, I see specifically psilocybin, like mushrooms, it's pretty much psilocybin group of mushrooms, and LSD as the key to different dimensions of personality. If you use it in a good way, like with good setting, and use it in a complex therapy almost, that could be a very powerful game changer, I think, for people. Not those people who have tendency towards schizophrenia or some different mental illnesses, because it could cause trigger the psychotic break. So if you eliminate those problems, I think that could be used as a very interesting way, like a door to another world, to find some more stuff about yourself. It's just a speculation. I'm waiting for the time when it's going to be, more prominently.
Actually,
universally accepted.
in Maine, in the United States, they have a proposal now that will legalize psilocybin therapy for adults with no medical diagnosis needed. So steps are being made.
Yeah, as I see, like everywhere, it's just a gradual change, but it's rather fast. It's relatively fast, because in Oregon, for example, it's already, I think, that there are some different papers and research and some. Hello, hey. Hi, yeah, and I think it's going to become like more and more prominent, and people will get used to this thought. I think we're on that step where the information is the first step, and then after that, different countries, different governments and medical institutions, psychiatrists, I think they will step into this world and use it as a safe 1 time or 2 times, treatment. Yeah, okay, there are some more people, so maybe we can move on to something more interesting. If you remember there's an interesting idea that, have you seen this picture of a donkey that moves forward just because it has the stimulus in the back, like a stick that it's being, hit by, and a carrot in front? What I'm saying is, like, every motivation that we have, it comes from two different sources. From fears and from dreams, which are basically pretty much the same, because our psyche is very interesting. It has different domains that kind of interact with each other, but not in a direct way. So, and let's start with the negative part, maybe. Yeah, the fears. Do you have some phobias, or are you afraid of some things, like different levels? Maybe just the obvious ones like spiders or snakes, or some less obvious ones like. One student once, he actually answered that question. He said, "I'm afraid to, what was it? To end up being nobody." I'm like, oh my goodness, that's a profound phobia. So maybe
Teresa has her hands raised.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay. I think I have a phobia of the dark. But I think it makes sense. Like, let's just say, even though I live in a house and I live in a safe neighborhood, I don't really have anything to be afraid of. But like, if you think about it, our ancestors were cavemen, and when our ancestors, were living in caves and stuff, they had to be cautious all the time, like, of dangerous things, like wild animals attacking them and stuff. So I think it makes perfect sense why we're afraid of the dark, even if we know for a fact that there's nothing to be afraid of, because like our brains have developed this fear in order to survive in the wilderness. You know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah, most definitely, because it makes sense to be afraid of it, because there's a lot that we can't see, because our vision is not as strong as many animals have. And of course, it's like, yeah, just staying away from danger. Do you have some irrational fears, like something that you can't explain? Like spiders are very small. That's why it's more interesting why people are afraid of spiders.
I got one.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely afraid of the ocean.
Wow,
Like,
why?
even though I'm looking at it, I don't know. Just looking at it, like I took a trip to Miami and I was just out there, and I mean any beach or any vast body of water, I won't go more than 10 feet in. I won't let it pass. But I'm a swimmer. Like in a pool though, it doesn't matter, But the ocean is just like my heart just drops to my feet every time I look out at it. I don't know.
That's very fascinating. Well, my first thought is maybe it's because I had the same feeling when I traveled to America for the first time, because I live in the mountains and my eyes developed for decades looking into the terrain and seeing the mountains somewhere, and it was limited by the mountains. And when I traveled to Virginia, my eyes almost hurt because I could see the vast surface of water, and it almost hurt because my eyes they were not used to this. So maybe it's the feeling that you're being, kind of too small, or almost being swallowed by this, like being lost in there. I don't know. What do you feel when you look at it?
Despair.
Why?
Pure and total despair. I have no idea. It's been that way my whole life.
Very interesting. That's very interesting too. I always try to dig deeper into what do I feel on different levels. I'm desperate. Like I look into the ocean and I'm desperate. Maybe because it's like I lose control over the reality. It's too big and I'm so small, and like life is there's no control. Like hundreds and thousands of years is gonna pass, and maybe it's like fear of nothingness or death. I don't know. Curious. Very interesting.
Haley has his hand raised, and then Emily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. Just a quick. It was just phobias. It's quite an interesting subject, and it's something I actually talk about a lot in my books. And for Teresa there, so fear of caves. You're talking about. You should say it might be natural to be afraid to be in a cave, and that's called spelunkophobia.
She talked about the
fear of
darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, that's right. But fear of caves and closed spaces is spelunkophobia. It's quite a common one actually. But and then for Mendez, you were talking about fear of water, and which is a weird thing to be afraid of. But aquaphobia, that is, and there's another version as well, which I can't remember. But there's even things like fear of sand, which is eremikophobia.
Mm-hmm. There's
again,
all kinds of phobias. I read the list.
Absolutely, it's amazing, the list, isn't it? But the favourite one actually is actually fear of long words. And there's
I can understand that.
That's hilarious.
Ridiculed as youngster, and it's that's hippopotomonstrosesquipedaliophobia. So it's actually the longest named phobia. Hippopotomonstrosesquipedaliophobia.
Oh, it makes me feel anxious.
And you can imagine if you went to a psychologist. Yeah, and you said, if you said, "Oh well, I'm afraid of long words," and you said, "Yeah, well, you've got that,"
And
you'd
say
probably
this.
run a mile,
Oh, Jesus.
just for the actual thing itself. Anyway,
Yeah, it's funny. The name itself contains a very long word. Isn't that ironic?
yeah, that's right. But there are some amazingly named ones. Yeah. Okay, just chip that in.
Yeah. What about yourself? Do you have any fears? Maybe some more of a less.
You alien.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, me. You're talking about? Yeah, sorry. Well,
Come on, you gotta have
natural
something.
one. I mean,
now.
I do. Yeah.
Fearless, mister.
I mean, if I go to an edge of a building or something and look down, you'd have vertigo like anybody else. So I think that's a fairly natural one. But then I have jumped out of an airplane with a parachute on, and you didn't get that effect at all because you don't get the perspective. There aren't many. I mean, I probably don't like, in terms of animals, I don't like worms. I don't mind spiders. Arachnophobia, which is obviously a common one, but I don't like sort of squirmy things. That's the sort of thing which I don't like. My son has, what's it called? Trypophobia. And trypophobia is, if you can imagine, it's fear of things with lots of holes in them. So like a bee's wax, a bee's hive with lots
It's
of
like
holes
Swiss
in it.
cheese or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and we'll look at there's certain types of flowers that have these sort of heads where they have lots of like little holes in them, and he just goes ape shit on it. That's trypophobia, that one. But yeah, it's a weird.
Curious why?
But
Does
then,
it
as
give-
Teresa was saying, it's mostly just common things that we've evolved to naturally avoid. Because it's not.
Yeah,
a
it
good thing to be
because
near
it
those things
totally
or
makes
whatever, so-
sense. Yeah. I think there are
Tasmania, isn't it?
rational fears and
So-
irrational fears. Yeah, I think that, or maybe
Yeah.
I would rather call them like animal fears and human fears. Like, for example, if you're afraid of the dark or some other things like snakes are dangerous. That's why we're afraid of them. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, but about some irrational fears, like my friend actually once she said, I have this phobia that I'll burn. What did she say? Like, I'll burn or evaporate or something like that. Totally didn't make any sense. But it was like so strange. She said, I'm afraid to kind of evaporate in this like sun heat or something like that, like almost being dissolved in the atmosphere of the sun. I'm like, what? It's very interesting.
Sort of opposite to that is fear of ice, which is pagophobia. So I'll get that more up in Russia, actually. So again, I can imagine it being
I'm
associated
wearing
with maybe getting too cold.
trousers now.
Yeah,
It's too cold.
I said that's pagophobia. Yeah, fear of ice. Anyway, any other good phobias?
Yeah.
I'm sure
Emily has her
It's only
hand
for this.
raised.
Mm-hmm.
Emily, you have the floor.
Nice. Welcome everybody who just joined. We have this weekly event. Today we're talking about different things to kind of understand ourselves better and kind of dive deeper into our personalities and find our fears and dreams. And maybe move on to this psychological little test.
Well, Emily had her hand raised and wanted to drop some change in there.
So,
Sure.
so, first Mendez, man, you're in Michigan. Can you do the lakes? That would stink.
No, I actually lived in Cleveland for a while, and that was when I first noticed my fear was looking out over the lake over there, and so
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, so I was thinking about, some of the traditional fears that I might, like without thinking, say things like fear of heights, even though I do, roller coasters or something similar to jumping out of an airplane or whatever. But then you guys are thinking kind of deep. So I was like, well, I'm afraid of, like authority figures. I'm afraid I'm going to lose my children. And these are all irrational fears. And I think that like kind of together, it's more of a fear of losing my adult control, my adult life, like with my kids or my house or my job or things like that. And I immediately jump to that, and this is anxiety talking, but I'll immediately jump to that worst case scenario. If someone comes in and I didn't vacuum, they're going to take my kids away. No, they're not. If I can't use pot because this could actually happen, but if they drug test me, I could lose my job or something like that. But the thing is I don't use pot, so it shouldn't be a fear.
Yeah.
But that whole fear of losing what I've worked for, and someone taking that away with absolutely no. Well, I think I told someone my brother had died when I was 23 or something, and so I did lose him. But that's the only thing in life I've lost. I had a great upbringing. I had a great parents, all that kind of stuff. So it sucks. It sucks to have those irrational fears. That's all.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Again, if you guys would like to participate, if you raise your hand, I will pass you the megaphone. Archer has his hand raised. Would like to.
Yeah, I got a strange fear, an existential fear of immortality.
Very interesting.
Some people claim they would enjoy immortality, but after the first couple hundred years, you'd grow so sick of it, and then knowing that you can never die, that's too long for my watch.
Very interesting topic, by the way. Immortality is a very interesting topic to talk about because I kind of share that idea as well. That I think it could be very boring or like scary, but at the same time, I find some joy into looking at this, like, you know, space travel stuff. Like, imagine being a little particle that travels for thousands of years, like just in space, being nothing.
That's the interesting thing, because thinking of the infinite actually relaxes me. I find a lot of peace. I like watching this and knowing that the universe will go on without me. But the thought of having to witness it in its entirety
sounds like torture, doesn't it?
Yeah. And then, you know, some people, you know, speak how I live the afterlife, and I'm always like, yeah, but wouldn't you just like to just kind of
just be
shut
black
it off after a while?
Yeah.
But anytime someone talks
like
about
the way you
eternity, I
think.
just kind of like, yeah, what would you do for the rest of it? I don't know, but that's my irrational fear.
You're interested.
I like to add, I've actually spent many a nights just up. I mean, I'm not like suicidal or anything, but you know, for me, where I'm at in my spiritual growth, just to not exist has always been something that I feel that I may find comfort in. So just wanted to share that part.
It's like I enjoy life knowing that it will end one day.
Yes. Very good point.
Your life, which seems infinite to them. So they may look at your life and say, hey, you know, I don't want to live that long, it's boring. But, you know, our 80 years on this earth, I think is pretty interesting. So would that be any different? Would we really get bored? I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, we're only here for just a blip.
We are a
when
blip,
you look at like how long everything has existed and all the things that we come from. You know, we've only had VR for a couple of years. We've only had the internet for a couple of years. We've only really had a civilization to speak of for a couple of years, and we've only had food for a couple of years. I mean,
if you believe in
kind of like a logarithmic scale, but you know, go back.
If you believe in reincarnation, is that maybe why we forget our future life or our past lives when we get reincarnated, just so it's different and unique and new?
Yeah, I think so. I've had that same thought a lot.
I like where it's going. The conversation, actually, I was going to bring up those points. Elian, what about some cosmic scales?
Well, it's just it's an interesting. This is a little astronomical sort of fact, but it ties in with Archer's talking about lifetimes and also space as well. And what's interesting is there are things called cosmic rays. You've probably heard them, that are bombarding the Earth's surface. Some of these cosmic rays, they're very energetic particles, and they only have a lifetime of a fraction of a second. Okay? But have you heard of time dilation? It's one of the things from Einstein, that if you're traveling near to the speed of light, for you, time slows down. So some of these cosmic particles have been produced in other galaxies, so millions of light years away, and they've left at near the speed of light. For them, time is slowing down, so they only have their lifetime of a fraction of a second.
Yes.
Is long enough them to travel at near the speed of light from another galaxy to us. So their entire life is like that.
Right.
And they've gone from one galaxy to another. It's just an extreme example of the weirdness of a lifetime, if you think about it.
Yeah,
just
time is
in
a
with the
very...
pictures. That's the Horsehead Nebula there, by the way, on the screen at the moment. In Orion. Lovely.
Yeah, I keep thinking about this time concept. It's very curious. Just imagining that the time doesn't exist. Like if you look at these particles and some events that like physics explain us, that like explains today, it's very interesting. Just to think about the fact that there is no time, that we all live some time, and we kind of see time in our scale. But if you take a vast, like very interesting to think that 1 millisecond or like this little fraction of time could be felt the same as the huge amount of time, like 13.5 billions of years, which is pretty interesting. Yeah. Like a box that is in a box, like Patroshka.
So you're right, though. Time doesn't technically exist the way we think of it, and it's like a movie. So if you have a roll of film, everything exists at once. But if you are watching that film, you have the illusion of time, and that's kind of what our universe is. We have the illusion of time because we're focusing on one thing at a time, and we roll through it. But yeah.
Yeah, and just the existence of like it just we're designed to understand just little fractions, because I ask people, like my friends especially, like I give them these like and I enjoy doing that as well, mind experiments, because we talk about numbers. Numbers help us a lot, but if you really try to imagine how it feels like, for example, I can count how many people in the room right here, like 15 or maybe 20. But if I really try to imagine how it feels, I can feel this room full of people, and every personality has different vibe and different, different character. But try to imagine some numbers like thousands and billions and millions, those huge numbers, like cosmic numbers, for example. It just blows my mind. Or some money. Whenever somebody talks about $1 million, it's almost bearable, like to understand how much is it, like how much I can buy for $1 million. But what about $1 billion? Just one letter difference, but at the same time, it's like 1,000 times more. What about some other numbers? And I try to imagine how it feels to have this big number. And also, I think, speaking of drugs, this is a very interesting phenomenon that I mentioned. Like I noticed it many times when I was smoking marijuana. I would have like the exact time scale twice as long. So I have this internal feeling that I spent a lot of time listening to this music, or maybe a lot of time doing this or thinking about that. And I look at the time and I see that it was twice as like less time. So inside I could feel the time longer, twice as much. But once I had like a very strong experience, and it felt like thousands of years. It was so interesting. It was just 12 hours in my real time, but my experience inside my head was such a long and complicated, interesting scale. Like I had the like scales, something like these space travels. If you can see this video, it's like when you're traveling through different spots, and every spot your eye kind of catches every single spot, and you try to pay attention to that one. And once you pay attention to that one, you kind of find out that it's not the little spot, it's another huge universe inside that one spot, and you think it just blows your mind. It's like a fractal picture where you have hey.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So yeah, time is very relative. That's what I'm saying.
Now you had her hand out, wanted to drop some change in there. Go ahead.
Excellent.
I was just wondering, so you said that whenever you did drugs and smoked marijuana, that time was twice as slow or fast?
For me, I felt that like it was compressed. The real time was 20 minutes, but inside my head, it was like 40 minutes or 50 minutes. Based on my regular, internal clock, like, oh, I've been doing this for a long time. So my experiences probably were more intense. Maybe that's why the time stretched that way. But it was like few times very, very interesting feeling that was actually, I started as late as 28 or so. And I kind of had a very established feeling of life. And I was like very, kind of a mature person, I think. And that's why it was a very interesting experiment for me. First time, it was very like unusual experience. Then a couple of times I was just like tracking stuff and almost having my, experimental protocols. And it's just like very interesting that the time scale always the same, 1 to 2. And I was curious. I'm like, oh, it has to deal something with should be something interesting there with this. And just the concept that you feel you have these experiences personally, not just from theory, but you're feeling inside, your clock is changing inside. So it's pretty interesting. my personal experience. I don't know if, oh, Mendez, what about you? Did you have that feeling that time changes its scale?
Yeah, but I feel that a lot. Now, especially now since I started training my brain, because I watch like when I study my videos, I watch a 12-minute video in like 3 minutes. So that really messes with my time a lot. I do it, but when I smoke weed,
Oh, you
I
started
still
breaking up a little bit.
oh when I smoke the weed too, I notice a slower time. But I like
Probably. Yeah, and let's continue this conversation about fears. Maybe a couple of more people want to share some rational or irrational fears that you have and how you deal with them. Maybe somebody had experience of conquering their fear. That would be very interesting to share. I don't see. Yeah.
I have an experience regarding fear, but the concept of time was very interesting. I'd like to make a comment about that, if I may.
Yeah, let me give you the megaphone.
I noticed that. Okay. Oh, you can hear me. I said that I'd like to make a comment about time, if I may, because that is intriguing. The concept of time, that is just an illusion for us. You notice, you said that when you got high, it seemed like time was going slower. When I meditate, it seems like time, I guess, for instance, if I go into meditation and I do a 30-minute meditation, it feels like 5 seconds when I wake up. When I come out of it, I was like, dang, I thought I just did this, So in that respect, when I meditate, time, I don't know if I can say that time does not exist, because I have an experience during the meditation, but it just seems like just a few seconds or a few minutes, whereas actually a lot of time has passed. I thought, that was interesting. Now, to go back to the fears, I've got, I guess I've always had a fear of heights, but it hasn't been anything major because I would avoid experiencing heights. But since I've been in VR, I've been experiencing a lot of heights, and it just seems like that fear has heightened when I'm on the side of a mountain in VR. Whereas I'm sitting in a chair, but it still frightens me. It still frightens me. So I guess that's me coming face to face with my fear of heights and just not handling it very well. It's still very real.
Very interesting. Yeah, I was thinking about it. We actually discussed that point, that about fears, that maybe VR could become something like a safe playground where you could kind of conquer your fears, like a fear of heights as well. So there's another world where they have this balloons, hot air balloons. Maybe that could be another playground for that. Very interesting. So it's not working well for you yet?
No, it seems like it's worse. But I will try that hot air balloon. I think I'll try it. I think I need to face it.
Okay, very close to the river, and there are many trees, and it's like a neighborhood with many houses. And I remember that moment when I was afraid of the dark, and I thought there are some monsters there that could be hiding, or maybe they're gonna attack me, or some kind of they're following me. I have to always go look back. And I remember that moment when I said, well, they shouldn't attack me because I'm part of this darkness. I am with them. They shouldn't be, they shouldn't see me as something different. And that was my key to conquering my fear of the dark. I thought, I'm part of this because this world is part of me and I'm part of it. And I kind of I felt like the darkness goes inside me, but not in a bad way, but kind of having this vaccine towards the negative stuff. So that was my key. And since then I haven't been, afraid of that. And with the time concept that you said, it's very interesting. We just talked about, in the beginning of the meeting, we talked about pace. Pace is very important. We have our natural pace of life, and sometimes meditations and other many different practices, they force us to change the pace. So that way we get different states of mind. So this is, I think, meditations and yoga is a very interesting, and I'm grateful that we live in a time when we can share these different experiences and get some skills and experiences doing that. So yeah, this is very interesting because I'm too active and I can't even sit around with for a long time. Yoga was a very interesting practice for me. It was a time of concentration on my body, on my thoughts, and it kind of changed the way I think. So yeah, I think this is definitely a precious thing that we should all practice and try to use in different ways. Anybody else? Do you want to add something?
Kumitsu had his hands up.
Oh, it was a while ago. I don't know what I wanted to say.
We talked about drugs, time stretch, and fears.
Oh, okay. I wanted to add up to the time stretch and marijuana.
Yeah.
I experienced that too, the slowing time.
Mm-hmm.
And
you see, this is very interesting.
And in my experience, I think it was because my ability to take in visual input and things I see and perceive actively, not just throwing it immediately away by my subconsciousness, increased a lot. So I was seeing more things, I was seeing more faces, more colors, and I was contemplating them more often.
Oh yes, agree.
During the time. And so it was I was overclocked like a computer. Everything was happening faster, but the downside was that I couldn't really focus it. My focus just became like a fire hose. It was this huge cone and I had little control over it. But I think it's the amount of input that you have and that you pay attention to, that you perceive that so much has happened.
Yeah, definitely. I'm fond of music, and that's exactly the experience that I had. I kind of could feel the different levels of music. It was like tasting food. For example, if you try a dish that has many different ingredients, sometimes you just eat it quickly because you have to run to work, and it becomes like one mass of tastes. But sometimes if you have time and you really enjoy your meal, you kind of feel every ingredient of the dish and you enjoy your meal. And I think I had the same experience with marijuana. Like, I enjoy music every day. It's just part of my life. Whenever I open my eyes, I have some music going on in my head for some time. Those songs that I listen most of, the majority of time I listen to music. And it was curious that when I was in that state, the feeling of music was different. I could hear and enjoy so much the sounds that even going to another room, I could talk to people and hear the music like maybe at 10-20% of its volume. But whenever the conversation stopped, that volume in my head would raise to 80% or 90%. It was like a flood of sounds and almost like a diving and swimming in the water. So it was like, so I don't know, I enjoy music so much on a different level. Like it's a different state. And like my cousin, he said a good thing. He said, well, it feels like some receptors that I always used to have now are activated. It feels very natural, but different. That's what he said, like for his first experience. So he was sitting at the table and trying everything on the table, like the tea and some sweets. And then he says, all these things, they have different taste for some reason. Like I have these receptors that were deactivated mostly. They're very interesting to compare different experiences. And I think yoga and meditations, they give you pretty much the same kind of state of mind, maybe. It's not the same, but I think eventually they had the same way. So kind of being in the moment and enjoying things on a different level. Very interesting. And there was another tip that I was going to give about fears. So yeah, anyway, if I remember about it. Okay, so maybe we can wrap up on fears. Does anybody want to add something? And we can move on to something positive, to dreams. Anybody? Okay, maybe we can wrap up. If you have any ideas later, you can, add to the next point. Okay, so let me give you a little psychological test. It's not a psychological test, so in a traditional way, just a fun verbal stuff to do. Okay, Mendez, it's getting a little bit noisy. Can you mute yourself? Or I don't know. Okay, so let me give you different. Okay, let me guide you into this and try to remember everything that I'm asking you and say it don't say it out loud, so different people have different experiences and that way you don't influence each other. So imagine you are in a desert. You look around and you see different sand and different dunes, and you see a city somewhere afar, but there is a wall between you and the city. So the first question is about the wall. How do you imagine that wall? What size of it, like color, height, material, some things like that. Take a moment to imagine that wall. Okay, so now you realize you have to get to that city. So how are you going to do, how are you going to go through this wall? Not through this wall, but kind of get to the city. Okay, so you pass the wall and you kind of head to the city. And you walk into the streets and you have this feeling that one of the houses is somehow special. You walk into to that house and you think about stepping inside. So are you going to open the door and step inside the house? First of all, yes or no? And then those people who say yes, when you walk inside the house, you see that there are different things, like there's a table where there's some kind of food, and this is a house where there's somebody lives there. And you see a chest, like a big box. And you step to this chest, and another question, are you going to open that chest? Again, yes or no. And then try to think immediately, what is inside the chest? Take some time to look into that. If you open that chest, try to imagine what is inside that chest, like the little details. Okay, let's move on. So you walk outside the house and you see an animal, some kind of animal that approaches you. What is that animal? What's its attitude towards you? What's your attitude towards this animal? What do you feel? Okay, you have to continue your path, and maybe this animal is going to follow you. Maybe it's going to stay here. I don't know. Just think about it. Now you continue your way. You make your way towards the oasis that you see somewhere, like across the city. Okay, and you go towards that oasis and you approach it, and you see some water there. Some kind of water, like object. What is it? Is it a waterfall? Is it a lake? Is it a little spring that flows from underwater, underground? So now, what are you going to do with that water? How are you going to interact with it? After that, you see another animal. What kind of animal is that? How does it treat you? How do you treat this animal? What do you feel? Now, on the periphery of your vision, you kind of feel that there's something in the sky. It's flying above your head. But what is it? How do you feel about it? Okay, so let's wrap up with this test. So maybe I could ask somebody, or like I could just give you the keys to the test, so that way you can kind of, we can kind of compare the answers and kind of try to reflect on that. What does it mean? So maybe we can, somebody I could, sorry, there was a lot of noise. Okay, so let's ask somebody. Okay, maybe let me pick somebody. And do you want to participate? Or, yeah, maybe you can volunteer if you want. So, okay, maybe everybody can do that. Just like introspectively. Okay, so the keys are that the wall that you can see in the beginning is the way you see life and the difficulties of life that you have to overcome, like major difficulties. It's very interesting that different people see the wall in a different way. For example, I had a wall it was maybe my height, not too high. And then like when I had to overcome it, I could just climb over it, and it was like relatively simple. Some people say that the wall was very huge and it was like very difficult to, get past it. Some people say that it was like almost transparent. It was like just a fence. What about your examples? What did you have? A fence?
Anne has her hand raised. I think she wants to respond.
Yeah, sure.
Yes. The wall. You said to picture the wall. The wall was taller than me. It was tall, and then you said to imagine what the wall was made of, and because we pictured ourselves in the desert, I pictured the wall made out of the same material as the environment that I was in. And then when you said get past the wall, how do you do it? Well, I went in through the entrance. It was an entrance, and there was an opening.
No.
I remember my friend saying that. I'm like, what? You could put a wall there? Like a gate or something? I'm like, I didn't think about it. Yeah, I'm like, oh my goodness, I should have done that. Yeah. That's why I like this test, because different people have different answers, and then it's fun to compare those. Yeah. Anybody else? What kind of walls did you create in your mind?
Can I go?
Sure.
I had the wall of like the environment, like Ann did, and then to get through the wall, I just imagined myself like running full speed and just breaking through the wall.
Brute force.
Yeah.
You see, we have different approaches towards solving the problems, and I think in Russia, I see this many cases when people think that they have to suffer to kind of be successful in life. They see life as something difficult, almost that you can't get anything just because you're a nice person, or maybe just because you're lucky or something. Everybody thinks that you have to suffer, you have to work hard to get stuff. I'm not sure about other countries, but these mindsets are very different for different people. Like for me, I see that there are different, obstacles, but it's kind of easy to get over them, get past them, and it's almost fun because when I was younger, I would jump, over the walls. And I would like to, I used to walk on the walls, so I enjoyed that a lot. but different people give different answers. Like my friend, when she said, "Oh, wait, there's a gate. I'm gonna open the gate and get in." I'm like, "What?" Okay, that passed me. Yeah, okay. Didn't see that. Okay,
Yeah, right.
so what was your? Yeah, you have a lot of reactions. So.
My wall had no gate.
Yeah, same here.
My wall was like a solid brick, and it didn't end up or to the side. So the only way to get through was brute force.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Brute force drain.
So you have the same coalition with Mendez, maybe. There's so many.
You can raise your hand. I'll
people
pass you the mic.
Mm-hmm.
Emanate Joy would like to participate.
Oh, nice name. Like it.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Yeah, I can't see your image. Okay. Sweet.
Oh, yeah. My wall was flat, made of sand bricks, same as some people had said. It was made of the same environment. So the bricks were sand, but that was only inch size, so that was really good. I could just lift my leg up and go over, but I decided just to sit down and have a little rest before I went on through.
Nice. People think that life is so hard, and it's like you have to overcome some stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna rest out of it. That's okay. It's just pick up. Yeah, and maybe the fact that it's just the same material as the environment. Maybe you think, well, it's just speculation. Maybe you see the obstacles of life as just part of the environment, just part of the world, the way it's designed.
Part of the process. Yeah.
Kind of, yeah, like that not people are bad or like the world is aggressive. It's just like it's the way it is. That's it. Like it's the nature of things. So kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
I see obstacles
that's
as something that I enjoy almost. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought this. I was wondering what did it mean by being part of the environment, but I think that's a good suggestion. That's probably it's a bit like the Buddhist religion where they say suffering is part of life. So yeah, it's maybe the same sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I'm
Anybody?
a Buddhist, but I know some of it.
Why not? I like their concepts. Why not? Paul, did you have your hand up?
Thanks for sharing that.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah, were you sleeping again? It's a safe place to sleep. Yeah. Mhm. Did you hear the test, or you just joined?
No, I missed the test. I
Okay,
fell
fine.
asleep in the test.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to you later if you wish. Yeah, okay. Helion, Emily, anybody? Archer, anybody wants to add something? It's just interesting to get different answers, yeah, so we can compare.
Yeah, I kind of what Anne had been saying about, you can just basically walk into it. I kind of had the same thing. It was a tall, thick, heavy wall, but there's a very inviting gateway that just opened. So I was just able to just walk on in.
Cool.
That's nice.
So-
Emily had her hand up as well. Just going on.
Mine was a big tall brick wall, and like some of the other people said, I just went through the entrance, and that actually, you'll probably get further into this, but that was the theme of my entire experience, was just follow the rules, and so it was, my experience was kind of boring, but yeah, I just went right through the door.
Mm-hmm. You see, this is very interesting how people, like different people, they see different borders. As you said, just follow the rules. But some other people, they ask like, what are the rules? There are no rules. And they kind of, tap into those areas where they can find some way out, where they can find their own solution, which is very interesting. That's why I like these illustrative tests. Elian, what do you think?
Yeah, a bit like you get in deserts, in Egypt and that. So little turrets and things like that. When I was thinking about it, and I think this is a VR effect, it was like flight enabled in that world, and I actually just flew over it. So,
easy breezy, lemon squeezy, yes.
It's the easy way.
Isn't it cool that VR changes the way we think? Yes.
It does a bit. I have VR dreams now, and for your next bit.
Cool.
I just want to add that I'm very upset that I wasn't one of the people who thought to just put a gate there. So good for you guys.
Hey, Cameron, just join us. But be polite, because I can fight too. I'm a heavy lifter in my real life. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, very interesting. Isn't it interesting? That's why I like sharing these results, like sharing our experiences, because it gives us an additional gate to our thinking. When I heard my friend giving some other answers, I thought, well, maybe that I should change my mindset. Like maybe I should really create gates into some different worlds and solutions to like find easy solutions to my problems. Just because I limit myself, it doesn't mean that other people or just the problem is limited to that. Okay, so let's move on. The city, and it's the picture of your life. So it's not too special, and just because I gave you the condition, so it's not going to be a lot of imagination there. And the house is actually your kind of calling in this life, like a special maybe goal in your life. And what's the most important part is, like I tried a hidden gem of this test is that the chest, whatever you see in that chest is basically kind of your goal in life, like subconscious goal. And which makes me sad because I saw some dish there. I'm like, oh, there are dishes, nice dishes. I'm like, for some reason I said that there are dishes. And
that's funny.
Like, and I'm trying to go back to that and trying to understand like what that means. Maybe kind of like family life. Maybe that's what I want.
Yeah,
just nice dishes and cooking. Yeah, sounds like that. And my friend, when she said, oh, I see some nice, papers and some manuscripts and some knowledge and stuff. I'm like, what? I should have said that. Okay, so yeah, the chest is basically the main element. So what did you see in the chest?
Alien has his hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mine was a chest full of bitcoins.
Bitcoins, yeah, maybe you want to get rich. Yeah, shortcut. Yeah, some people said I find a lot of gold there, like, because it's
the coins they minted in.
Okay, it's the vine guy. It makes sense.
yeah, right. Anne had her hand up next, and then Emily.
When you said go in there and look in the chest, first you said walk into the house, and then when you saw furniture and you realized that people were living there. So when I walked in the house, I felt kind of bad that I didn't ask permission. And then when you said there's a chest, open the chest and look at it, I'm like, I'm not going to look in the chest. That belongs to somebody.
Yeah. I was surprised.
Right. My first inclination was like, let me find the master of the house and ask if I can look in the chest. And then you said, well, what do you see in the chest? And I said, it's somebody's underwear. That's none of my business.
Interesting. You see, it's just a nice food for thought. And actually, that I first time when my friend gave me this test, I thought, whoa, who's that idiot who's not? Of course, I'm gonna walk into the house. Like, there was no question for me to get inside the house and open the chest. But when she said it's like your calling, your kind of inner purposes that you have, I thought, well, this is interesting. I gave this test to my students who were teenagers. They were 16 or 17 on average, and many of them, they didn't open the door and they didn't open the chest. It basically means that they were not ready to accept some inner, like they didn't have that experience yet of opening and finding themselves or something. So that's my idea there. Okay.
Emily and then Kamotsu. Go ahead, Emily.
Thanks for moderating.
The house. When I went to the house, I said, well, I'm not going to enter it unless I knock.
Yep.
And so then I went because I'm afraid of authority and breaking rules.
Yeah.
But then I went further. I'm like, okay, let's say I went ahead and went in the house, and so I saw the chest and I opened it and it was blankets.
Blankets.
Oh.
So then I thought about it, and I was thinking that after you described what that's supposed to mean, maybe I'm searching for like a comfort. I am big in comfort. So
Yeah, definitely. I think that's pretty much the same, because I like the space and feeling comfortable in the space and having that nice vibe inside your house. Like, so it's cozy and everybody walk in the room and they feel nice, although they don't understand what's the elements of that. Maybe we have the same stuff, dishes and blankets. Yes.
Yeah, I thought that. Yeah. It's a home.
Who am I trying to trick? Playing smart ass. Oh. Didn't find any books there, just dishes. Okay, what about everybody else? Kumutsu, what about you? Kumitsu, yeah, that's...
Waiting for his consent to unmute. Go ahead.
I was talking to myself. So again.
That's nice.
Sorry, I didn't realize the raise hand emoji also raises the hand. It's new for me, but I was one of the people that didn't go into the house. I just passed by. None of my business.
Oh.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah, think about it. Like you see the wall as something that it's huge and it's like a lot of obstacles and something, and you can break it only like by brute force. And then maybe you're not ready to accept some things that are waiting for there in your chest somewhere. Isn't it interesting that chest word is used anatomically as well, somewhere like in your heart,
Yeah.
It's curious, just food for thought. Think about it. Maybe it's gonna give you some interesting
I'm thinking
perspective.
about it all my life. I would like to know what's in the chest.
Go in there.
My turn.
Sure.
I had
What did you
books.
see?
I had one book. I would say specifically one book, but I also didn't want to go in the house. I didn't want to open the chest, but I felt obligated, and I had a book in there. That's all. It was just one book. Can you hear Ozzy? I can't hear her. No? Oh, yeah. She probably broke down. I would go through the rest of the story. I've heard this. I've done this a few times with Ozzy, but I have a really bad memory. So if anyone else would like to, oh, here she comes. Thank God.
Oh, she's back. She's back. She was rummaging through the chest.
Yeah. You're on mute, Ozzy.
Oh yeah, I'm talking to myself as well. Yeah, it's nice to talk to one person.
Amplified too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to pass this test after you hear some other answers, and you kind of transform into that. I like these experiences. I'm not sure about you, but just tell me later if you find it fascinating as well. So a book, and what else did you find?
Just a book, just one single book.
Was it a Bible?
No, I don't think so. I had that thought, but I don't think it was. It was just a book. A blank.
What do you think?
I think it was a blank book.
Ooh, very interesting.
I don't know.
Maybe you have to write your own story. I think that's what's going on, because you kind of if you had a book that could be a symbol of knowledge, like learning something, but it's one book. There's not a lot of stuff. So maybe that's something you have to create in your future because it's empty. You're waiting for the ideas to kind of brew in your mind, maybe to create something amazing. My point of view. So yeah, I'm waiting for you to create your own book. Interesting. Anybody else?
Archer has his hands raised.
Huh?
Yeah. So when I entered the city, I just saw a bunch of kind of like adobe kind of houses, but there was one house that was painted red, and that's the house that I went into. but there was no door on it. It was just, you could just walk into it, and it just looked like just kind of like a common house. I felt like it belonged to somebody, but they wasn't there. So I didn't open the chest, but I just kind of instinctually knew that if I did open the chest, it would just be like just some common household items, like just like some clothes and stuff. But also I play a lot of like Morrowind and Skyrim, so it's like, you know, common chests everywhere, and you might find a spoon in one of them, you know, kind of. So it's almost like if I was to open it up and loot it, there wouldn't really be anything valuable in it. Maybe a copper coin or something, but.
I like the transparency in your imagination. Very interesting that you have no limits. Like there's just gate in the wall, and I kind of, you know, get into the house even without the doors being there. Very interesting. The transparency of everything. Everything is just you know, open, and whenever you want it, you can just like go in and imagine stuff. Very interesting.
It's almost like, you know, like in some areas, it's like everybody's just locks their doors, and you know, they're always afraid of somebody breaking in and robbing them. In other parts of the world, it's just like, you know, there may not even be a door. It's just like you can just walk in, but nobody does because they have like respect for the people that live there. That's kind of like me. Like I never bothered to like lock my car door. And people tell me, it's like, you know, somebody could break in. I'm like, well, they could just smash the glass. But I've never actually had anybody break into my car. You know, I don't keep anything valuable there. I just look at it like, you know, people would have like common decency and stuff. Even though I've lived in some bad areas where I should lock my doors, I've never really felt the need to.
Right.
Nice. Very nice. Like like, yeah, I like that point of view. I think I kind of on the same wavelength. It's almost giving people a chance to be nice and believing that people are nice and being part of that picture. I believe that sometimes being nice, like, and suggesting that people are nice by default, it could make them better. Like even bad people, sometimes when you kind of trust them and treat them as if they're good, sometimes they show you the best qualities that they have. Very, very nice approach to life. Interesting.
And that's a lot of times it's been my experience. Like I've lived in some rough areas, but I just treat people like, you know, neighborly. You know, I try, and everybody's always kind of treated me like family too. So it's like it's always other people telling me the bad areas that I live in. You know, hey, have you heard about the break-in? So I'm like, I've not seen it personally, no. But, you know, that's...
Well, any bad neighborhood is still a neighborhood. Those people who live there, they feel like home there.
Yeah, it's just, you know, this is where I live. This is the people I live around, you know.
Yeah, very nice approach. I wish we could have more of that, yeah, in the world.
Emanate Joy has her hand raised.
Hi.
I can't.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, good. I think you can hear me now. Yeah, what I saw was a place, it became like a evening time, and the house was lit up. So that was the house I was obviously meant to go into. And when I saw the chest there were only two things in there. One was it was like pearls, but they were a really bright, shiny color, sort of iridescent, and a book. So I don't know what the jewelry meant, but I knew the book meant knowledge.
Maybe jewelry is something like aesthetics, like beauty. Maybe it's wealth. Who knows?
Well, maybe it's the quality of that knowledge.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. But if there are two objects, maybe they're separate. Who knows?
Yeah.
What kind of jewelry did you say? Can you repeat that? I couldn't hear the first part about the
also,
jewelry.
what kind of book too?
Oh, well, I didn't notice what kind of book it was, but the jewelry was like a string of pearls, but they were beautiful color and sort of iridescent. So I know it was very attractive and pretty, and it didn't seem like worth a lot of. Well, not in the sense that it was jewelry that was expensive. It just seemed beautiful stuff. So yeah, I don't know what that was.
I think pearl is a symbol of natural stuff because pearls are really alive things. Like I remember my mother used to have a pearl necklace, and they kind of grow over time, as far as I remember. So they are kind of a living thing. And what you described sounds like a very natural, not wealth, but kind of natural feeling of something that is rich at the same time. I don't know how to
Maybe
explain
like a
this.
class, like high class something.
Stuff. Yes. I think some people, they tend towards, I think there's a certain scale of development. First, you like flashy golden stuff, like things. After you kind of grow over that, you go to some natural things that are like pearls, I think, in some natural, textures and things. So like things in style and like, first you look for bright colors, then you go to these calm pastel colors. So maybe that could be something like a high quality stuff. Who knows? Very interesting. Think about it.
Yeah.
So having something unique and genuine in your genuine. I think that's a good word. Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
No hands are raised. In respect for people's time, though, I just want to remind you that it is 6:40.
Mm-hmm. So
I mean,
20
it is
minutes,
20 till. That'll be better for you. We do stay after. We don't really end at the time, but I know you guys all want to participate, and you may have other things, so I'm just reminding her.
Okay. Thanks. Inside the chest? The animals. Yes, let's move on. Let's move on. I see the animals as the kind of souls. I don't want to say like specifically, maybe it's your partner, maybe it's your friend, or maybe your parent, kind of like a friendly soul in your life. Somebody's going to participate in your life, kind of help you maybe. Or that's the way you see connections in your life. Maybe that's why. I saw something like in the first test that I was given there was a cat. She specifically said it's a cat or something like that. And I had to describe what kind of behavior it has. But I gave you a little bit more freedom for choice. So maybe that could be an animal. So I see it as a symbol of those souls who help you on your way. So which animals did you have? Emanate?
Go ahead.
Dog? Okay, dog. What else?
Who said dog?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, go.
It might have to do with the country that I'm from, but I saw a lovely koala bear, a cuddly koala bear.
Isn't that sweet? Where are you from? I like the international map in my. Ooh, amazing, Australia. Nice to meet you. My husband loves Australia for some reason. I don't know.
Well, I picked up a koala bear and cuddled it, put it on my hip.
Oh, interesting. So a dog and koala. Okay, let me give you my speculations on that a little bit later. Any other animals?
Emily had her hand up in Archer.
So, I was in the desert, so I saw a camel.
You see, you stick to the rules.
I'm still following the rules.
Same here.
And then
camel too.
I rode the camel. The camel was very nice, and I rode it to the next section.
Nice.
That was all.
Cool. So,
what about you, Archer?
Did you have? Yeah.
See, I also had a camel, but like right when I was thinking about it, I also was thinking zebra, so it turned into a striped camel in my mind. And the feeling I
no limits
was
nice.
Just mutual respect, which was, just like I see this creature and it sees me, and I just feel a respect for it. And then, after I acknowledge it, then I walked on to the next part of the oasis. So I didn't ride the camel or anything. I acknowledged it with respect, and then I went on. But yeah, it was a striped camel that I saw.
Very interesting. Anybody else? So what do you guys think about these animals that you imagine? So I see, well, maybe I can say after you say, so that way we can compare points of view. So a dog. What is the symbol of dog?
Like a buddy.
Unconditional love.
Yeah, love, unconditional love, like support, loyalty. I think those qualities are very typical for dogs. They're companions, they're friends, mostly dogs are friendly towards you. So it's a very good symbol. It's like very interesting. Yeah, let me think about it. What about koalas? What qualities do these animals have that you kind of imagine them?
Always on drugs.
Well,
Same idea. Hi.
Gee, well, they stay a lot of time in trees.
Yes, they sleep
eat
a
gum.
lot.
They do, because they eat gum leaves which have eucalyptus. It's sort of a narcotic effect.
I read an article that their brain size shrunk over time just because they were high all the time. Like what?
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow, I didn't know that.
The change was dramatic, like over like evolutionary something. Like they had a bigger size of maybe 5 times or something. I don't want to give you the misinformation, but it was something like that, like 5 times less.
Wow,
The size.
I'm going to look that up.
Oh my
I'll
good
stop
stuff.
eating gum leaves, I think.
Yeah, eucalyptus. You're getting high. Maybe. Very interesting that you were cuddling the animal. So kind of, it's very interesting that some people decided to use the camels to transport or like move on, and some people you decided to cuddle the koala. Like so, kind of you take care. Maybe you help other people rather than other people helping you on your way. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, it was just that, like, because of the size of it, it was easier for me to pick the koala up. But it was very comforting to me because, the koala was soft and furry and, unthreatening. So
yeah, you see, maybe you help other people and you enjoy it as well. So it's some kind of like a natural state for you to, because it gives joy to you too, because it's fluffy and nice, and it's like you enjoy the fact that you help other people.
I got parental vibes from that.
There you go.
I got parental vibes from that
Comparison
from that animal.
Like pandas as well.
Like it speaks to like a parent, because it's not something that can really help you, but you've seen it and you just saw it, but you decided to pick it up and put it on your hip to support it along the way. So I felt like that was like speaking to her parentage. That's what I got from that one.
Yeah, like dogs are good companions, but they kind of help you more. Cats are good companions, but they're more independent, so they kind of have their own lives and you have your own lives, and you can always separate and come together again. And for example, I didn't cuddle the cat as much. I think we have pretty much similar approaches with Archer. I can hear a lot of things that I would do too. So kind of respectfully cooperate. If they want, I just pay respect to them, they pay respect to me, and then after that we can choose what to do next. Maybe we can get together and continue our way, or maybe we can just separate and they have their own lives. So kind of not clinging to those contacts. Oops. How about now? 1 2 1 2. Should I re-enter? Okay, good. Nice. Okay. Anybody else? Oh, Kumitsu, by the way, did you name the animal that you had?
I didn't. The first one was, I don't know the English word, but it's a young deer. The sort of
Oh.
furious, scared.
Faun, probably that's the word. Faun.
The second one was interesting. Was pterodactyl, a dinosaur.
Yeah, nice partners. Very unusual and powerful.
Yeah, but it wasn't scary. It was just flying in the sky, unthreatening. You know,
Very interesting, yeah.
inspiring.
Anybody else?
Can I go?
Yeah, sure. I see some
I
hand
didn't.
raises, too.
Yeah, I see some hands. I didn't pick an animal, but I just wanted to get feedback on what I'm hearing from you guys. Like you say, you got your companion animals. It sounds representative of like friendships, maybe a partner, like a friend that you can have, as well as for the camels, like a friend, but a more supportive of a friend. Like a cat, the dog might be a friend that you just want there as a companion. Yeah, that's what I saw. That's all. Just my observation.
Yeah, makes some sense. Hello, some new people who just joined. This is our weekly event. We have it on Fridays. We talk about different stuff. That's why it's called Theory of Everything, because we couldn't come up with the one singular name. So we choose different topics and different stuff. So today we are talking about self-exploration. And I gave a verbal test to everybody. So now we are comparing the answers and symbols behind those things. So Steve, do you have your hand raised? Okay, let me give you the megaphone if you want to speak. Want to speak? Because I'm not very good with these.
Hi, no, I never had that up. Sorry, I arrived late, so I was just wondering what you were talking about with animals and stuff. And I do love your space stuff though. There, it's pretty cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I enjoy it too as well. I enjoyed the fact that the scales and the feeling of space in VR, it's more realistic. So I play around with these videos to kind of immerse myself into these trips.
That's cool.
Space.
That's a Horsehead Nebula there and the Flame Nebula.
Yeah, the
which is in
Horsehead,
the
yeah.
constellation of Orion.
Yes. Oh, we have an expert here. Yeah, and Helion also is an astronomer, and he knows a lot of stuff about it. A couple of weeks ago, we had an event where he was an expert. So. Yeah, if anybody's knowledgeable about something, that would be great. Sometimes I like this idea of kind of, having some speech to those people, like inviting some people to talk about some things that they enjoy. Okay, so animals are kind of like those souls that you have in your life, who are your partners, or maybe friends, or mentors, or those people who help you. It was interesting that Emily actually told about the camel, that she was riding a camel. Again, the same line, yes, with the authority, that's something that is stronger than you, but at the same time, it helps you. It kind of takes you where you want. Very interesting. Good vibes. Okay. Anybody else? Arthur, do you mind if I meet some people because it's getting a little bit noisy? Or maybe could you mute yourself if you're not talking? That would be. Yeah, the sound effects in VR are not still perfect, so sometimes it's distracting when other people are talking. Okay, so we have some more people who are keeping silent. If you want to step in and talk about a little bit about stuff, yeah, that would be great. If not, that's fine. It's just fine to listen. Helion, did you want to say something?
Yeah, you're talking about the bird was my bird was the falcon. Again, I think I've taken the cues from me being sort of Egyptian or something, and I've been literally writing the story of Isis and Osiris and the sun Horus, and the sun Horus, he used to have a falcon-headed staff, so he took falcon as his and I think that's where it came from because I was actually writing that this morning about that. So so it's the falcon.
Yeah, and we could move on because there are other animals as well. Yeah, so you went to the oasis, and oasis and water is actually your attitude towards intimate life, the sexual life. So in many tests, I saw different, like I listened to different tests before the event, and I wanted to choose some other ones. And different tests, they have different symbols. That's why I chose particularly this one, because this one works better. And in many tests, the same symbol was for water, for like sexual life. So this is how you see it. So some people, they see like a big lake and I hear some echo. CC side, can I ask you to mute yourself, or maybe I could mute you so I don't have echo here. So yeah, and there were different symbols. Yeah, great. Oops. Yeah. So yeah, water is a symbol. If you dive into the water, if you kind of like enjoy it and you dive into it, it's the way you see it maybe. Some people they wash their hands and sit there like, oh no, I don't want to bathe. Some people say, well, it's hot, it's a desert, that's why I would dive into it or take a bath or I mean take a swim or something. So what kind of interaction did you have? Is it true to life? Did you see the same symbols in your life? And
I thought it was interesting. You mentioned a waterfall, but I didn't see a waterfall. It was a fountain, like, flowing water coming out, but it was also a fountain where you can pump water and pour you a glass of water. And then you said, what did you do with the water? And I pumped the water pump from the fountain. I mean, it was a fountain, like a decorative fountain. It was very beautiful. It was just flowing water and it was very decorative. But then it also had a separate pump. And I pumped myself a cup of water and I drank it.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like maybe
I'm
a
interested
certain
to know
need.
what that says about my sex life.
Well, maybe it's something you see it as a regular part of your life, something that you have like almost as a natural need for water and food and stuff. And it's very, how do I say, like very naturally dispensed. I'm not very good master of English. Yeah, could you comment?
What I got from what you're saying is like your love life or your sex life is something that's I want to say it's something that you put time into. It's not just there. It's something that you work for, so that's what I got from that. Like something you put work into to make happen or to get out of. So yeah.
Good point. What do you think yourself? What's the symbol behind it? And
me?
Mm-hmm.
Me?
Yeah.
These are just symbols, but the way we approach them, it shows our personalities.
Okay.
Maybe it's moderation. Maybe it's
the fountain. I remember the fountain. I remember you saying a waterfall. I was like, no, I don't see a waterfall. I see a fountain. I live in Kansas City, so they call Kansas City the city of fountains, and and I love water fountains, the way they flow and how they can be very artistic in the way that the water spouts or falls or things like that. So it was a very interesting and intricate water fountain, and then it was also a mechanism where I could pump water into a glass and drink it, and that's exactly what I did.
Also, I see a high quality approach as well, because you see it was flowing. The fountains are beautiful. There is some dynamic, and it's like kind of changing, transforming maybe process for you, because that's the way I saw my personal life in my childhood and throughout my adolescence. Due to some traditions in my area where I live, it's like very not rural, but kind of the old traditions and customs, they're still here. And a lot of ladies, they don't want to, get involved into that until they get married. And I had kind of had the same perspective in my head when I was younger. So I could see that as having the only partner in your life. And that way you spend 25, 30 years together in active age. And that's why you should, kind of have it in your mind that it's not going to be only the one way. You should have some knowledge and approach to that, so that way it flows and changes. So it's moderate. It's not, having these big oscillations where you have like a very a lot of sexual life when you're young, and then just get tired by 30, and you're like, oh, nothing is interesting. I've tried everything. So I saw it as something that transforms. It's kind of moderate, and it's not too super passionate in one period and then it's boring in the other period. I saw it something that quality changes over time and transforms from one way to another. Maybe you have the same picture of that. I don't know, just speculations. Interesting, curious. What about everybody else? Emanate.
Go ahead.
I saw the water as a big lake, and I went for a swim.
Yay! It was hot. It's a desert, so
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. that was it.
Very interesting. Yeah. So went for a swim.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
This area is not my area of expertise, so just think about it. Yeah. Okay. So anybody else? Komitsu, Archer, Emily.
So I've been.
Yeah.
I've been
Go
kind
ahead,
of
Archer.
laughing to myself about what mine was. So like mine was a broken fountain. It was basically just like a little rock with like a natural spring kind of thing. And I drank as a symbolic gesture, but I wasn't really even thirsty, so I don't know what that says about me. But the thing is, after I took a drink, I noticed that the fountain was covered in salamanders. So, what's
Very
that?
interesting.
That was the
I don't know.
animal that I saw. And I'm like, I don't know what the symbology is going to say about me, but that's what I saw.
Yeah, but Norman, I feel like you're a very balanced person. But I think every symbol, it's very relative. Like it's very what was that word? Uslovny. My brain is not working. It's 12 o'clock. Yeah. Anyway, I think the main important thing is what you feel inside. This kind of almost impulsive feeling that you have. Now, always my first question is it positive or negative? So that way you can just indicate the plus or minus. And then on that spectrum, if it's positive, you kind of try to dig into that and kind of, describe those feelings that you have. So I think that's the main part of it. So salamanders, some people think of salamanders as something bad or maybe nasty or dirty or something. Some other people think of it as something nice and colorful and pleasant. So that's what's important, I think, not the symbols themselves, but what you feel about them. That's why I think about these tests that I always sort them according to their.
The feeling was more like the striped camel. It's just kind of like I acknowledged them, had like a mutual respect, but it wasn't really. I didn't really focus much for the next thing about I saw like a falcon in the sky, but the falcon was weird though. The falcon, I don't know what that represents, but of the three animals, that was one that I didn't really feel like a mutual respect for. I felt like it was like a falconer's falcon for like an assassin or something. So it was almost like adversarial, whatever that one was.
Yes. The seeing something in your periphery is seeing something in the sky is like minor problems that you have, because in general the wall shows the general situation in world. When you're born, what do you think about this world? What do you feel about this world? Whether you feel comfortable in it. Is it friendly? Is it like, has opportunities for you and presence? And then falcon and those things that you saw in the sky, those are minor problems that you may have during your life and something like that. So I think that's the thing. And that's why I think feeling something adversary or negative towards it, I think that's fine. That's fine. It's just like, seeing some, unexpected events or problems in your life, something like that. That's what I think about this last animal.
Nice.
Emily?
For my fountain, mine was a fountain too, and it was big enough. It was kind of in a pond, and then it was big enough for me to both wade in, and then also there was some fresh water coming out of the fountain section, and I drank. So
maybe different qualities of feelings that you get. I think that those are different things. Like some things are like porn-like things, some dreams maybe. It's interesting that fountains are mostly artificial. And I would never think about artificial things in the desert, kind of. So for me, it's something like more wild or like, some kind of uncontrolled stuff. But fountain maybe could be that symbol of civilized, controlled way of life, maybe. Who knows? That partnership or maybe partnership that is controlled and, with mutual respect and all those things. Very interesting. And having two kind of different things, maybe having two different opportunities, like those things and other things, like so you can accept different levels of the same kind of erotic and porn-like things. I don't know, just speculating on that. I'm still on my way. I'm just like, whenever I talk to everybody else, I'm trying to get something more about myself as well. Introspective too. Okay, Kumitsu.
What was yours
you?
like? Nah, fuck that.
Mine?
What was yours like? Yeah.
Well, mine was like a lake with a fountain for some. I'm not a fountain, a waterfall. I like the movement, that there's some, power in it. There's the energy and something, and I could dive into it, swim in it, and then like sit around and look at it too.
Wow. All right, go ahead, Komatsu or Komitsu.
Well, I tried searching for the water, but there wasn't any, so I
Oh my
say
God.
shockingly accurate.
Oops. Yeah. See, these things are very simple, but they reveal a lot about you. You see. Isn't that cool? I like these types of tests, so that way you can kind of find some things that you don't even expect. So a lot of dynamics flowing. Interesting. Okay, so I think that's about it. And the last one, the birds or something in the sky were like minor problems that you might have, and like the way you accept them and see them. I'm not quite sure about those last elements, but still, I think those are not bad as well, because I saw different flying birds or something, but I saw them, there were a lot of them, there were many shadows, but at the same time, I thought that they would quickly, go away. So kind of, there are problems, minor problems, but it's always, there's always a way to, deal with those problems. So that's about it.
Oh, my problem was a plane.
A plane?
I just ignored it though.
Maybe it's a thwarty system again, coming back, something artificial flying, but it's old. That's why it's like an old system, that Michigan State that you have, or maybe some old systems. I see governments as old systems right now. When somebody says, "Oh, I was so sad today because the U.S. embassy in Russia stopped, issuing visas," and that was like exactly the moment where I had to renew my visa that was there for 3 years, and I'm like, "What? It's like bad luck for me." And then somebody said that it's probably because there are some issues with Biden and Putin, that they have to, meet and to discuss something and stuff and like that. And I thought about these are two pensioners, like old men that have to decide the destinies of so many people. And I am kind of sick of it. I think that younger people should decide what's going on and what should become. Those people should go ahead and just enjoy their life on pension. My personal opinion.
Get the fuck out the way, right?
Yeah. Move, bitch. Get out the way. Yeah. Okay, so.
I just want to say, I want to thank everybody for coming to our event. It's 7:05, so we are going to wrap up, but we usually just hang out and talk. Just wanted to say thank you guys for coming. If I happen to vanish off.
Nice. Yeah, I really enjoyed this event. It was fun. The company is great. Yeah, I added a lot of you as friends, and hopefully you can come back to the events next time, and we can, choose some other topics that you are interested in too. And we also have a channel. I'm very bad at marketing. Actually, I never promote our channel or anything. Yeah, well, we need somebody who's going to promote us. Yeah, so we have a channel here on Altspace. You can, I'm not sure how you can join it. I think whenever you go to the page of the event, you can see on your left the channel that opened that event. Also, you can go to a menu and you can see you are here. And when you push that button, you can see the world. And if you like it, you can favorite it, or maybe just, I don't know. There are so many other things that I could tell you, but I'm not a very good person at that. So yeah, please come back soon. It's going to be next Friday. It's going to be the same time. It's midnight for me. For you, it's depending on your time zone, it's different. But if you subscribe to the channel, you can see the new events, and you can have those notifications for your email and other places. I think there's a new feature. You can actually add some events to your calendar, export to the calendar. I didn't use that app option, but I think it's a new one.
Yeah, that's pretty nice too.
Yeah, so hopefully next time we will come up with some interesting idea, or maybe sometime we'll do something like watch party or something. We can watch together and speculate on that. I have this idea. I think we should go back to that and create a whole event for that. I have an hour video that I really like. It's something like this, but it's a little bit more thought through. It kind of gives you the feeling that the one that we watched, remember a lot of time ago. So I want to create a watch party for that too. So kind of have not a guided meditation, but like an experience together, because I like that video because it has a lot of symbols from physics, from mathematics. So we could share and discuss it after we watch it too. It's just like a video like this too, with music or anything. So yeah, if you have any suggestions or advice, recommendations, that would be great. Maybe I'm too noisy and I should mute myself, or maybe you have some tips on the world, so you would like to see some, interactions or something.
Or maybe you're an expert and you want to come host an event and just talk to people and engage.
Yeah.
Because really this is about us sharing our experiences and becoming closer as individuals. So I hope that everyone is a little bit more friendly with the person next to them. So thanks for sharing as well.
Yeah, thanks a lot for everybody who are brave enough to tell us about your secrets and your purposes, your chests in your home, or maybe somebody else's home. Yeah, and think about it. After some time, maybe like a couple of years or 5 years, you can go back to those symbols and kind of think about what would I change in my answers, and how does that apply to my life. Maybe I think if those authorities that you find inconvenient, maybe you should expand your thinking and think, why would I even ask somebody for the rules? I make the rules in this life. I choose my path. So just I learned from everybody I hear, and I'm very grateful that you shared some ideas, like your answers, so we could kind of analyze them as well. But yeah, that's about it. It's almost a tradition. After the event, we have this like after parties where everybody somehow go back to this drugs topic. Oh, I had this drugs.
I haven't actually used drugs. Oh, never mind. I got a step kid. She's 20, and she comes and gets me high all the time. So yeah,
it's not your fault. It's just her.
It's not my fault. Yeah. Fucking kids.
Justify yourself. Okay, yeah.
I want to say goodnight to everybody. I've got to go, but thank you very much. It's been a really
thanks a lot for joining. Yeah, thanks a lot.
See you around again. Okay, it's good talking to you.
See ya.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.
Yeah, see you then. Bye.
Who's off from America? A lot? Nobody? A couple of us? Did you hear they're doing the feds have just banned menthol cigarettes. We were talking about stress earlier, so I think that's going to be pretty troublesome for quite a few individuals. I don't smoke cigarettes, but
you said they banned menthol cigarettes?
They're working on, they have officially passed it, but they say it'll be a year before the ban actually takes effect, up to a year. But yes, they have officially banned menthol cigarettes in the United States of America. I think it's a good thing, but
they're banned here in the UK already. I seem to still have the megaphone thing, so you might be hearing more than anybody else. You could maybe take that away if it's too noisy. They banned those in the UK a few years back, and I think it's to do with the fact that you take a deeper draw or something with the menthol cigarettes, or it was encouraging kids to smoke. So they stopped selling them. So
that's the same excuse they gave here. Yeah, I think it's good. I think cigarettes are a proven cause of cancer, and I have no idea how it's just legal to sell out of a store. But I got a homie in prison right now, doing a few years for a pound of weed. So I just don't think that I don't understand.
So which I'm assuming he's in the state
criminal justice system.
I'm assuming if if it was legalized in that particular state, you would then get a pardon, I would assume.
I would hope so, but it's not. It's still illegal in that state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In many countries like
world is,
Russia, it's crazy. It's like illegal, and the government actually uses it as a very convenient way to convict like those people who are not very convenient for the government. Recently, that's such a crap stuff that's going on right now. The opposition in the country is so unaccepted that they basically kind of created basically those problems for them. There's a lot of cases when the police, actually the DEA or whatever, they drop the drugs into the pockets of those people who are not very politically convenient, and that way they say, oh, you're drugs and you were selling drugs. And because of the law that it's so like strict, as you said, like for a little amount of substance you can get into prison for a lot of time. So this is one of the ways to kind of eliminate the candidates who are being competitors to the government.
Right.
Oh my God, yeah.
A guy went to jail down the street from me, and he had 4.8 grams of cocaine, and it wasn't his first time, but he got arrested and got sentenced to 105 years. I just think that's really sad. Yeah,
that's crazy.
And he was dealing or whatever, but that's for me, for how I feel now as a more woke individual. These dealers, a lot of times just want to provide for their family. I feel like we as a society need to do a better job of giving people the skills to provide, and then we wouldn't have problems like that. So I just think it's real sad.
You do what you need to do to provide for your family, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
If you're left with no other choice, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And then the system is the penal system's so weighed against the working class and the oppressed. It's like for a small petty crime, and then you maybe get bankers that are embezzling billions, and what do they get?
a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
No good. That's life. Unfortunately, that's the way the system works. And it's very hard to change, and it always will be, because it's been this way for hundreds of years, if not
hundreds of years. Yep, if not thousands. Well, this is the first time that we don't.
A lot of thousands.
Yeah, a lot of thousands.
Yeah,
it's the first time in human history
BC,
where.
Even BC is probably the same kind of scenario.
Yep.
That's definitely before Christ, all those things. Because in our museum, local museum, there are skiffs and sarmats, like nomads, like basically for thousands of years before Christ. They were maybe 2,000 years ago or something, like before Christ. They had nomadic lifestyle, and they have in the museum, they have those kind of plates, special plates like ashtrays, specifically for smoking the cannabis. So for some, religious, customs and stuff. It's been everywhere, all over the world. They had different substances that they used for religious and rituals, different rituals. So it's been there for a lot of time.
But the penal system, crucify them for it hasn't. It's like you've had 2 grams of cannabis, so now you're going to do 2 years in jail.
Yep.
Isn't that crazy?
Thing that's been about for years. It's crazy. It's madness. But then again, alcohol and cigarettes are
illegal. Yeah. What the fuck?
Because you can't. They're not
what
easy
the
to
fuck?
You can grow cannabis very easily. That's a natural plant, but we're not wanting you doing that. Even with the medicinal benefits of cannabis, and they still won't. But then again, it's the pharmaceutical. It doesn't benefit the pharmaceutical companies.
Nope, they're already the industries are already built.
They're built against it. They don't want that. They don't want a natural remedy that people can use. You don't need to pay for.
Yeah,
we need to monetize it and make sure you pay for it.
Yeah, like oil countries, they also.
So you leave and not taking your phone.
Use clean energy.
I'm saying, but you didn't take your phone earlier. What was you on?
Where's you at, mate?
Yeah. So clean energy, I think that's it makes
Okay.
sense that some oil
Bye.
countries and like those petroleum systems
bring me
they're
some
well
weed.
established.
Oh, my bad. I'm not on mute.
No.
Nah, you're on mute,
So
man.
yeah.
Pass it to the left, mate. To the left, man.
Right. I tried to call her earlier for some weed, and the kids brought me the phone. I was like, what the fuck? Damn it.
Yeah. If you pass it to the left, the Skyfighter is gonna get it before you. So. Yeah.
That's okay. I'll get there in the end.
Mm-hmm.
We're wanting on a kind of, as long as you don't all hog it, we're fine.
Yeah, I understand weed because weed has been for such a long time around, and many people. I think the problem is not about the substance. Mostly, it's about the people. They don't know how to behave themselves. They don't know when to take it. Like if it's like, if you have a day of work or something important to do, yeah.
There is, but that's not the case. As for any drug, it depends on your personality.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Some people they just don't have limits.
That are heroin users that are very, they can do what they want. They can work. They can maybe just use heroin at night, and they're fine. They're functioning heroin users. Most people that smoke hash function every day-to-day life. There are not many people that hash or weed affects them.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe makes them a bit lazier, maybe more demotivated. But some people it doesn't. It's got the opposite effect. That's how they function. It's just it's different horses, different courses for different horses for different courses. Everybody's different.
Yeah. I learned 6 different programming languages smoking weed every fucking day. Higher than a motherfucking kite.
That's one thing. You can really get tuned into something if you're doing it. You can get absolutely zoned into what you're doing.
Yeah, I get creative very much. Like in my everyday life, I'm calculating stuff, analyzing stuff. But if I smoke weed, it kind of gives me a different state of mind. Sometimes I'm ready to kind of ingest some information. Like I like to watch stuff, listen to something.
And it's, you don't. Yeah, I know. But I'm pretty much the same. I can't really. Like, I enjoy it, but I've not done it for a few years now. But it wasn't really. I'd done it every a wee bit, a couple of joints a night, or a joint here and there. I wasn't a major user. But my friend functions on me. He's mad learning. And that's why he functions. He tunes into things. He'll smoke a joint and he just gets right focused on something and just does it. As I say, everybody's different.
I want to clean my house and shit.
Demotivates him, yeah. Don't even get started in speed.
Oh shit! Yeah, right.
Yeah, I get creative. I like to create some other, like, at a different time, I just gather information. And at that state, it kind of happens that the information kind of falls into nice puzzles. Oh, I got it. Like, this comes from here and this comes from here. This is another, copy of that.
It's just a different mindset. Everything just changes your way of thinking. Like, weed, alcohol, any kind of drug, anything. It gives you a different way of looking at things. It's not everything's a bad thing, but and again, it's like what to do with how it affects your life. Some people have got addictive personalities and need it, and some people can use it as recreational. It's just it's one of these things. It's like, what do you know? Everybody. I don't think it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing for certain people. It's a good thing for certain people. For certain people, it doesn't bother. It doesn't affect them.
I think what matters. Is the quality of the rest of your life. If you have a kind of a boring life, like within this pandemic months where you sit at home, there's nothing that happens, you can't travel, you can't go out. I think that kind of if you smoke weed, it gives a big difference between your person, like your life and that state, and that's why people may get addicted because they want to go back into that state. Like eating sweets. when you eat something sweet, your body kind of gets hooked to that too, because you have this difference in feelings. When I eat something healthy, it's not delicious, but when I eat a chocolate or something, it's kind of savory. That's why you kind of want to have it more.
Yeah, of course.
But
If
if
you,
you have-
like the feeling it gives you, but then, is that not what life's about? The experience and good feelings. Experiencing
but if
something you like, but it doesn't. But then you're not necessarily going to get addicted to it. This is, there are very few people that are actually addicted to weed. It's like, I think, I'm trying.
I think it's something deeper than that. It's not really.
The worst
it's not.
addictive drug is heroin. That's.
Yeah.
But then, I know
My
people
sister-in-law
on heroin.
died.
They can. My cousin died, but it wasn't actually for heroin. It was methadone, which is a kind of substitute you use here in Scotland. For when you like, this is the kind of thing like get you wean you off heroin, but you die for the methadone, and that was like you get out the jail and just like crazy stuff. You know what I mean? But it's I don't know. It's crazy. It's like is it the drugs or is I don't know. I don't think necessarily just weed or whatever it is. Weed, they always say it's a pathway drug, but not for everybody.
Well, the whole legality of it has more to do with like political reasons than actual like health concerns. Like
definitely.
It's a whole like reefer madness thing where it's like, hey, these subversive counterculture types, they're gonna suddenly realize one day that they don't need us. How are we gonna maintain their power? Well, just ban the things that they like to do, and then spend it, and then everybody's going to jail, and then they do this thing where it's like, if you've been to jail, you can't vote, so now you're not voting.
How much of the criminal system is? See, the thing is, I would just legalise all drugs. At the end of the day, is like, just do it.
Should have free choice, right?
How much of the taxpayer monies? And how much of the criminal system, how much of the police, how much of that goes in actually
make it
trying
all
to control
legal,
it?
and then all the money that you're paying
And people still do it.
shoot people, just redivert that into the health system. So people
exactly. Maybe give you
do it if
free
you
health
want,
care in
you're not
America,
gonna be
give you
killed for it, but if,
subsidised health
you
care
have
like we've got
problems,
everybody
like-
else.
Yeah, and then just
It's
shore up the
rather
healthcare
than
system.
so
So it's
much,
like now we're actually helping people instead of just like throwing them in jail and using them as
criminalise them
slaves.
for. Fair enough. It's monetise it. Just everything else. We could sell it. We could make money off. We could tax it. That's it.
Because in America, go ahead.
From my point of view, it's an easy way actually to get a person into prison. That's why I see it. Like it's a very convenient way to do that. Yeah, if you give a label to a person, people may support that person if you are not fair as a government to him. But if you say, oh, this guy is an addict, he's a narcoman, and everybody's, oh, that's in kind of people who were going to support him, they get disappointed basically because of that label. It's still going on in many countries who are not very, aware of these things.
Drug tolerant. That's why I just legalise all, because it's like maybe a stigma. You could turn that into a stigma rather than a criminal conviction. Just say I don't really agree with what you're doing, but it's legal. Doesn't matter. But why criminalise people? Because when they get into that criminal, when you get into the network of that, you're in prison. It's a slippery slope for a lot of people, and then it's a vicious cycle because you're in prison. You maybe learn a few things, learn another couple of people, get a few bad things, and you get into more and more criminality all the time. But it can happen, and it's for the sake of maybe for taking drugs or selling a bit of drugs. It's, why not just legalise it? How many people are actually in the prison network now that's just for minor drug offences? And you probably find it's maybe 20-30% of them, which is a big, especially in the UK. Well, especially in the US, because the US has got a crazy prison population. And it's like, for what?
Yeah, largest prison population in the world, isn't it? The US.
Yeah. Mostly for minor offences, for not showing their ID. But prison's probably the best option you've got for that, rather than getting shot.
True.
Crazy, man. It's a crazy place.
Heaven and rights on solar
That's it.
system.
I done felt.
Did you come up with
I
the?
fucked up.
That's fine.
What?
Did you come up with some other pictures that you would like to put here? I like this
Yeah,
pattern on the floor. It kind of
That's
sets
what I
people
like.
into a circle. Yeah.
I got an OCD, so at the end it cuts off and it pisses me off right there. You see how it doesn't make a full circle? That shit pisses me off.
Ah, okay. If you want, I can take. This is actually a photograph that I took inside Altspace. It wasn't from the internet. I can find a picture that's gonna be symmetric.
Is it not more to do with
Yeah,
an
yeah,
eye?
yeah.
Yeah, it's an eye. That's your pupil,
It's
and
a
then it's like a kinda, it's a more
It's a
kinda-
solar system. Helios is the sun.
Yeah, yeah.
Hermes is
Are,
Mercury.
are we all solar systems? Is there a
Oh.
solar system inside us? Who knows? Is every atom a star?
No.
Are we just another? Is our sun just part of another big human or a big living thing? It is basically, but
Is it?
Yeah, we had that
well,
discussion here before.
Well, the town, well, your solar system. Well, you think like, an atom. You talk
Yep.
about an atom, you talk about a nucleus. Everything circles it.
Yeah, but that's just a
Right, yeah, and then
representation
it's
of. It's not a
part of
real
yeah,
observation.
no, but it's very similar because you've got the atom at the centre and everything, nucleuses and protons, electrons circle it. So
Yeah.
maybe your sun, electrons, protons, and then you've got universes that circle each other. You've got black holes eating things up, creating things. The same in your body, you've got things eating things. It's mad. Are we just part of another? Are we just? Is there maybe millions of things living inside us that we can't see because there's
There is. There's more